So the next segment's going to basically cover tournament mentality, approach, nerves, and etiquette, as well as I will dabble a little into individual matchup knowledge. I'm also going to give you like tips on stage selection, etc., etc., etc. Okay?
All right, sounds good.
Okay. So, first we're going to start with, in tournament, the philosophy of a competitive player. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is one of my most deeply guarded belief structures, and it's not necessarily mine exclusively, but bear with me here. I believe that there are 4 stages to a competitive player. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
There is unconscious incompetence. Those players are bad, and they don't know that they're bad. It's not their fault. It's never their fault. They don't think about what they're doing, and they are good. It's just bullshit. That is the 4th stage of competitive competition. It is the lowest stage. Then you have conscious incompetence. Players that know that the mistakes that they make are a byproduct of their own decisions. And they may acknowledge, there are certain faults. But ultimately, they seek to improve, and they actively are working at correcting the faults that they have. They review replays, they may get frustrated, but ultimately, they are making an active, concerted effort to improve their play in a conscious manner. Okay? That is the 3rd stage. The 2nd stage is conscious competence. These players, and most of us fall into this category, these players actively can play well if they think about optimizing their options, and they create this large element of mindful play. They have gotten to a certain point, they've overcome certain obstacles, and they are more than willing to actually be able to control their decisions and their panic responses. So like your roll habit right now, okay? I would say that you're at conscious incompetence. You want to get to conscious competence. The final stage of development as a player is unconscious competence. It is the ability to optimize your neutral, make the perfect option select semi-consistently, without having to think about it. By getting to the point where it becomes so second-hand nature to make the correct decision in stressful situations that you no longer think about it, it becomes fluid. It is a form known as flow state. There's no longer that mental barrier of thought. There's no longer that 100, 200 milliseconds latency going on between the electrical synapse of your head about, I need to do this, I need to do that. You're shaving off...
It's just muscle memory now.
Correct. You're shaving off frames of thought in your actions and responses. When you get to the point of unconscious competence, you're a top-level player. Now, I want to be clear. These things shift from time to time, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, you can handily go from unconscious competence to conscious competence, or even lower. If somebody is truly outclassing you that heavily, you can be pressured down in stages, mentally.
Mm-hmm.
But, largely speaking, these are the 4 stages that you want to consider mentally, and you want to approach them with that mindset. You want to approach them with a mindset of improvement. You want to approach this game as a student. You want to take your loss as a learning experience. You got to stop defining the game in wins and losses and result screens, and you have to define it about whether or not you learn. And it's never too late to go back and take a bad loss you had and make it a personal victory, and actually consciously make a cognitive effort to pay attention to the habits you employed and how to correct them.
Right.
Now, on top of the 4 stages of conscious or unconscious incompetence, we have to discuss the optimal way to get there. And I think that players need 3 tools. You need the sandbag, you need the rival, and you need the mentor. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, what is the sandbag, the rival, and the mentor? They are opposition that challenge you in various different ways. They promote your growth in ways that you may not anticipate. The sandbag The sandbag is the player that you decimate, that you dominate, that you handily beat, that you do not worry about in bracket. You feel confident going in versus them. They bolster your confidence. And on top of that, they engineer creativity. Maybe you're feeling a little stylish. Maybe you want to try some things out. Maybe you have a new tech that you want to employ on them because you're comfortable with making that option for them, right?
Right,
That's
a little less safe, but you might as well try it.
Exactly. That's good. The sandbag breeds your creativity. The sandbag makes you a better player in that he shows you, one moment, in that he shows you specifically, like, new paths that you can take. And they might be niche, they might be special, but he teaches you to play with confidence, he teaches you to find unique options. And, likewise, you provide for him in the same way. It's a very mutual relationship. Now, what is the rival? The rival is somebody who pushes you. The rival is somebody who deep down inside creates and ignites that spark in you. He's that person you can't let surpass you. And he's that person that if you drop your fight for a second, if you stop practicing, if you stop training, he'll leave you in the dust. Your rival is your rival, as one would anticipate, and he drives and bolsters your competitive spirit. You need him, single-handedly, to push you as a player. He's that guy that always makes you look for the next optimal option. He's that guy that makes you come back to bracket week after week after week just to beat him. That's your rival.
All right.
Your mentor. Now you need a mentor. The final component of all three of these aspects, which is crucial, is you need somebody to take what you have. Now the rival may be equivalent to you, but you need somebody to teach you, to actively promote your growth in a meaningful way, and you need him to expose and open your flaws, to catch and read and describe and detail your habits and problems and faults. The mentor is the guy that you never beat. The mentor is the guy that you look up to, that you aspire to be. And I don't care if that mentor is Zero or your grandmother. I don't care who it is. If they beat you every time, if they beat you consistently, that person is your mentor. Talk to them. Learn from them. Take your losses as your biggest chance at growth and an opportunity, because no one, and I mean no one, is going to accelerate your personal growth like they will. If you can approach getting your ass beat day in, day out, hours of practice at a time, from these people that open up your glaring flaws, you're going to see the fastest path of improvement that you possibly can. So, in conclusion, that is the 4 stages of competitive awareness, followed by the 3 tools you need to grow as a player. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I want you to keep those in mind at all times.
Mm-hmm. I think the mentor part's gonna give me a problem because I won't have a consistent person to beat my ass over and over.
Mm-hmm.
I have a person who lives nearby who could do that, and he's like the best in the area.
Mm-hmm.
But schedules don't line up very well.
That's understandable. I would recommend making a certain personal effort to try and find what little lineup you can, to talk with him and sit down with him and work with him. The more you work with your number 1 in the region, the better results you're going to see, okay?
Yep.
It's not always easy, but it's definitely something that you need to try to work towards if you're very serious about improving your Smash game. And that's, of course you are, because you're here. So, talking about tournament. Do you ever get nervous?
Sorry, what'd you say?
No problem. In tournament, do you ever get nervous in bracket?
Oh, for sure.
How do you try to deal with it?
Friendlies and hand warmers.
Okay. So those are effective tools, right? They can be useful, and they can definitely help quell some nerves. Nobody wants to go in cold.
Yeah. See, I went into one tournament, and like I was nervous going into it. It was the first monthly I'd ever been into, and there was a Captain Falcon main there who I knew was good, and I wanted to warm up against somebody who was good. and he like crushed me like 6 games in a row, and my confidence plummeted. And I got like owned in that tournament. But
yep, the sandbag is the one that bolsters your confidence.
Yeah.
No,
it didn't work.
I get it. I get it. But here's a thought process that I want you to consider, and it's not for everyone, and it doesn't necessarily mean it'll work for you, but I do want you to consider this. So you get nervous, adrenaline starts pumping, right? And you're sitting there, and you're taking your time and your energy and your effort to try and quell those nerves, to try and fight those nerves. You don't want to be nervous, right?
Right.
What if I told you that it's okay to be nervous? Have you ever considered that? Have you ever considered that it's all right to be afraid? It's one thing to be afraid and another thing to let the fear completely dictate your actions. Those are two separate thought processes. But remember this, when you're afraid, your adrenaline is pumping. And from a literal biological standpoint, when your adrenaline is pumping, when you're living in that moment and when you are there, your reflexes are going to be on point. They're going to be better than they've ever been. You're going to need that epinephrine intake. You're going to need to use your fear in a positive, constructive manner. So maybe, in some cases, I want you to think about fear not as this negative thing that you have to avoid at all costs. Think of it as a natural byproduct of being you, of entering something that you love, something that you're compassionate about. Sorry, something that you're passionate about. That is... I mean, you're probably compassionate too. But think of it as a natural byproduct of entering something that you're passionate about. And really understand that it has upsides as well as downsides. And it's not something to lament, and it's not something to break your confidence over just because you're afraid. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I want you to learn to take your fear, or at least try to, and appreciate it. Okay?
Sure.
Because it's not always a bad thing. And that's something to remember inside of Tournament Bracket. Nerves can focus you. They can zone you in. So.
I did not expect that to hit.
It can, sometimes. There's the down tilt to jump cancel up smash is true combo on the swordsman up to like 114 at certain percents. But we're not here to tell you about how to play Mac. So let's move forward.
Right.
Okay. So when you're in bracket, let's do an imaginary bracket prompt real quick, okay? Like, let's say that you and I are sitting down, and we have our selection of stage choices, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to tell you, this is how I will open in a bracket set every time. I'm going to say to you, okay, Aether, you can go ahead and strike first. What do you want to strike?
Lila.
Okay, you just failed the test. And do you know why?
Why?
You never want to strike first, Aether. Don't strike first. Because now, look at this, okay? So, I didn't want to go to Lilat, okay? I didn't want to go to Lilat, and I didn't want to go to Smashville. But you chose one of the stages I didn't want to go to. So now, I get to reduce not only the stage I don't want to go to, but then I get to reduce the worst stage of the stages I want to go to, leaving me with, in your case, I'm going to say FD or Town and City. And now, you're either fighting me on my best stage or my second best stage, because you fucked up and you went first. Do you understand?
Gotcha.
And now let's say that you had instead selected, I don't know, Town and City, the stage I want to go to the most, right?
Right.
Okay, so now I'll select Smashville and Lilat. Now I'm still going to my second or third best stage. So the worst I'm getting is an even break out of this. Do you see what I mean? It's a situation that only stands to benefit me or break even. Which means, much like shield pressure and neutral, much like safe shield pressure and neutral, it's an advantage only to go second.
So, in tournament, then basically it results in a coin flip because you're like, I don't want to go first, you go first. You're like, no, I don't want to go first.
If you both say that, then you have to rock paper scissors to determine who goes second. Second is the superior position, and keep that in mind, because cause I'll tell you this right now, even against the most experienced players, I'm talking top players, like literal PGR players, I have said, and I quote, yeah, would you like to strike? And they'll go, yeah, okay, I'll strike this. Fantastic. You would be surprised the number of people out there that will sit down and take that first strike, even though it is in no way, shape, or form to their personal advantage.
Gotcha.
So definitely factor that in. Consider that, okay?
Thanks.
Yep, no problem. Now, in this matchup specifically, you would want to strike Town and City, and then probably FD. Ike is really solid at Battlefield. He's amazing at triplats, and I've seen Lilat do him dirty every now and then. But you want to focus. Yeah.
I said Lilat, but I kind of think that Ike does decently well at Lilat.
Yeah.
Like,
oh well, one of the nice elements of Ike on Lilat is he's a low traction character, so he gets that nice slide in when he fast falls with an aerial. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That shit is so gravy. You're gonna love that shit. So Lilat's good for you in that respect because it makes your safe spacing even safer.
One thing I tend to pull off all the time on Lilat, at least against my brother, is the ether spike. You know, my name. When I do up B and then grab him and he dies and I grab the ledge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it'll work sometimes, and sometimes it won't, quite frankly. We'll see, though. Now, let's talk about bracket. So, growing mentality is very important, and tournament bracket itself has a lot of impact on various players. I want you to consider this. A lot of people like to talk about this game like, oh, I lost, right? They focus on their losses, and I've already talked to you about making your experience about, not about winning and losing, but about learning. I want to hear, I learned. And if you didn't learn, go review, okay? But one thing these players that beat themselves up over loss don't realize is that in a tournament of 2,500 players, there are 2,499 losers and potentially +1 if a bracket reset happens.
Right.
Everyone loses sometimes. Loss is natural. And in fact, going 0-2 in bracket puts you in 25 percentile of total players playing. There are 25% of all players that ever enter a tournament go 0-2. That's a mathematical, fact. So consider that when you have a poor performance, or you go 2-2, 1-2, 0-2, whatever's plaguing you, and however you feel about what you've done, okay? Because this is Smash 4, and shit happens, and you're gonna have bad days, you're gonna have bad months. And as you grow as a player, your ego's going to grow too, and you have to try to control that. You have to try and put, a temper on your expectations. Not in that you shouldn't personally believe that you can do better, but that you have no room to make pity for yourself when you fail to meet your own expectations. Okay?
Sure.
Good. That is, at its crux, a big part of your mentality. Your tournament mentality must always be learn, and loss is okay. Now, the other thing is, you're not going to be perfect. You're not always going to have, a proper answer. Okay? You're not always going to have a proper answer to approaching this mentally. You're not always going to be okay. You think I don't get mad in a bracket? No, I get mad. You think I don't get salty? I get salty. You're going to get salty too. It happens to the best. Maybe you fucking... I one time shield broke a Kirby at 50%, right? I'm sorry, at 110%. I was at 50. At 110%, I shield broke this Kirby on his last stock. I went to walk up smash him, charge it to full, and Lilat Tilt pushed him off the stage. He recovered and then proceeded to beat my ass, and I lost the set because of it.
Oh, I'd be so mad.
Right? Who wouldn't be? And that's okay, though. That is okay. Do you hear me? I mean that. Hear me out. It's okay to have those feelings, but it's the way in which you express them that defines you as a person. You know what I did? I turned to him, I shook his head, I said, good game.
Yeah.
And that's what you're going to do too, okay?
Yeah, that's, okay, I try to, combine my recreational mentality, so, I have, I play baseball too, and I'm a pitcher.
Yes.
So I gotta shake off the losses. One bad inning doesn't mean you're going to lose the game.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. How often do you go out to your tournaments? This is the final piece of the tournament section that I'm going to quiz you on, and we'll talk about matchups while we play in the last 10 minutes.
How often do I go to a tournament?
Yes.
I would go once a month.
Okay.
But it's been like 3 months because the tournament, like the person who ran it has stopped running it.
Okay.
So.
Here's the long and short of it. You're going to have to start going to more tournaments, and that might mean that you have to travel to get to them. So be it. That's the path to growth. Your tournament play and how consistently you can enter tournaments will affect your growth, especially in the early phases, exponentially. So no more excuses. I don't want to hear about one tournament a month. Start attending, okay?
All right, cool.
Great. That'll end this segment. Now,